Hey y'all, welcome back to Chase That Song. I'm your host, Sean Clemens. I know it's been a while. I've just been trying to find some different editing software that wasn't expensive, that didn't have too many bells and whistles that I wouldn't use. But hopefully I'll be able to be a little bit more consistent with my posting and everything. So today I just want to talk about some underrated artists out on the scene. Um, there's several breakouts. You got Tyler Childers, you got Parker McCollum, Ko Wetzel, and Cody Jinks. Uh, and there are artists that are right behind them that just aren't really getting a lot of credit right now. A lot of people out there on the Texas Red Dirt scene, a lot of the guys and girls coming from the Appalachian scene, just all these different artists that are slowly on the verge of breaking out, and then there are those that are just overall struggling, whether it's they're playing to crowds of maybe 10, 5, no people. It just, they all have the talent, the musicianship, the lyricism, everything to get to where they want to be, but nobody's just giving them that recognition yet. So I feel like this is a good opportunity for me to spread the word about some of these artists. I'm not gonna go in any particular order of who I think is most underrated, because like I said, there are several artists I can name. So I'm gonna start off with Randall King. He's from Texas, and he's really familiar in the Red Dirt Texas country music scene, and I would consider him to be one of those on the verge artists because he is signed to a major label. However, I don't think that he has reached the popularity of, say, like a Luke Combs or Cody Jinks, Parker McCollum, any of these artists. Over the last 3 to 4 years, he's really seen a rise in popularity in Texas, especially. He put out his first EP back in, like, I think it was 2016, and put out an album since then, and it's like more and more his fan base just continues to grow. And I think it has to do a lot with his overall sound and style. It's a perfect blend of a lot of what I grew up on listening to mainstream country radio. It's like that 90s George Strait mixed with the Red Dirt Road era of Brooks and Dunn, uh, while still maintaining a relevant sound production wise and staying relevant within his lyrics as well. Um, I'd say he's underrated just because he fits in with this second wave of neo-traditional artists and just hasn't hit the popularity that they have yet. And what I mean by that second wave of neo-traditional is, the first wave, it was the guys like Randy Travis, Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks, George Strait, Alan Jackson, all these different artists. And now we're having the second wave with Luke Combs, John Party, Midland, so many others. Uh, so for Randall King, I would recommend listening to Mirror Mirror, Taking Me a Heartbreak, or even Tugging on My Heartstrings. Those are all solid songs to start. Okay, next up we got Taylor Alexander. He's from Georgia, and you all might recognize that name because he was actually on season 12 of The Voice, where he was a member of Team Adam on the show. Um, One thing about him, I'd say he's underrated. Let me kind of backtrack here. So, like, a lot of these reality competition shows, like America's Got Talent, American Idol, The Voice, they all have some quality acts that come through and artists that come through. And a lot of times, they garner a lot of support while they're on the show. But then when they get voted off, a lot of those people, they lose that support. But we see some of them rise above it all and still, are able to hit mainstream popularity. We saw it with Chris Daughtry, Jennifer Hudson, in Christian music. There's Holland has really become popular. But that brings me back again to why Taylor Alexander is underrated. It's because he's, you know, still trying to stay relevant. He's trying to reach out to the fans that he had while he was on The Voice, and also, a lot of different country music publications and journalists, they're, starting to catch on to just him, just his overall sound, his attitude, just everything about him that makes him such a great artist. It's a lot, do, it's due a lot in part to his ability to blend honky tonk sounds and alternative country sounds in a way that would probably make Steve Earle smile. So for Taylor Alexander, I recommend listening to Good Old Fashioned Pain, It Don't Matter to the Rain, and Break My Heart Tonight. Next up on the list, we have Carly Driftwood from Virginia. She's underrated because I can recall one time seeing her on an Instagram story where she said that she showed up to a bar to do a show and literally no one showed up. And so she had to go to the next bar over and ask the band that was playing if she could play on their mic because there was actually a little bit of a crowd there. And, she wanted to perform in front of an audience. That's the kind of artist that she is. She wants to reach out to fans or people that are going to become fans. And I think with her talent and music, she deserves so much better than to go play in front of an empty bar. A while back, I did a write-up on Carly, and in my research, I was able to find her influences, including like the Drive-By Truckers, Hank Williams Jr., Fleetwood Mac. You had Patsy Cline, Danzig, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, like all of these artists blending together to get to her sound, which I would call, and I believe even Forest Music has called it, happily evil. And so to quote myself from that little write-up I did a while back, I would say if you like a little typo negative mixed with your Loretta Lynn, you'll like Carly Driftwood. So for some songs I'd recommend for Carly is After Hours, Tennessee Trees, and Too Mean to Die. Next up on the list, we got Ben Jarrell from Alabama. And he's underrated because he's really just starting to build up his reputation. For several artists, I would use what I call a Waylon Jennings index, just determining how outlaw an artist really is, the phasers, the grit in the voice, the lyrics, just anything that would tie back to that kind of outlaw style that, the guys like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, all of them used, but, Waylon, I think, epitomized the outlaw sound, so I call it the Waylon Index, and it's just how I judge a lot of the new outlaws. Like I said, you got Dallas Moore, Jamie Johnson, Whitey Morgan, Sturgill Simpson, Gethin Jenkins. I use that index on all of them, and for Ben Jarrell to be mentioned with all of those guys, I'd say he's in great company. So if you like a little pedal steel, some phasers, and that rock and roll attitude in your country, you like Ben Jarrell. So for Ben, I recommend Troubled Times in a Tribal Town, Black Helicopter, and Daddy's Prison Radio. Next up, we got Charlie Marie, and Charlie's underrated because she is the unlikely country music hero of Rhode Island. She's always playing small venues in and around Rhode Island. She had a little break opening for Dale Watson one time. I think that's back in October 2019. Her sound is like this perfect blend of 60s honky tonk and like that modern traditional sound that we're getting from artists that are being called Americana but trend more towards country music, so like Jason Isbell or like a Michaela Ann, Emily Scott Robinson, that kind of vibe. But like I said, a lot of that 60s honky tonk influence for sure. Really just to describe her sound, it's Rhode Island country, y'all, and Charlie Marie's the queen. For Charlie Marie, I'd recommend her songs Rhinestones, Countryside, and Rodeo. Next up, we have Tennessee Jet from Oklahoma. He's underrated due in large part to his songwriting ability and his musicianship, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. His real name is TJ McFarland, and he got his name Tennessee Jet from a time that he lived in Nashville, so if you were wondering why he called himself Tennessee Jet and lives in Oklahoma. There's your reason. Tennessee Jet co-writes a lot with Cody Jinks, so I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Tennessee Jet end up on the verge of breaking out sometime soon, once Cody Jinks really takes off from his breakout. Tennessee Jet is a one-man band. He plays the drums, he plays the guitar, electric and acoustic, and he plays harmonica. Man, can the dude sing. When it's acoustic, you hear Dylan, you hear Prine, you hear Van Zant, you hear Guy Clark. You know, all of these influences blended in together to give you that acoustic country sound that a lot of people love. And when it's electric, it's gritty electric blues with southern rock influence. It's almost like if Jack White and Gary Clark Jr. got together to cut a country music record. I think Tennessee Jet does a really good job of blending together a lot of sounds and influences to hit home with country boys like me, and maybe even country girls too. But, you know, he really transcends country music, but at the same time, he's something that the genre needs. For Tennessee Jet, I'd recommend his songs TVZ, Buenas Noches from A Lonely Room, and his cover of Waylon Jennings' song Waymore's Blues that he did with Cody Jinks. So that's it for this round of underrated artists. I really want to know the artists that you feel are underrated, whether they be mainstream, breaking out, on the verge of breaking out, or they're struggling to get anybody to show up to a show. You know, just share some songs, share some albums. I always love discovering new music, or even just talking music, as you can tell by my channel. So once again, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like it, subscribe, and share, and I will see you all next time.